Welcome to another edition of The Leaders. I'm Yuli Ismartono from AsiaViews, here in Islamabad, Pakistan, to chat with His Royal Highness Prince Hassan bin Talal of Jordan. Prince Hassan is in Islamabad to chair a roundtable seminar on Voices from Asia towards a process for cooperation and security. There is no better person to speak on a variety of topics than Prince Hassan, whose interests range from human rights, the environment, empowering the poor, and interfaith dialogue. He founded the Royal Scientific Society and the Arab Youth Forum. He has been president of the Club of Rome since 1999 and co-chairs the Independent Commission on International Humanitarian Issues. He is a member of the Board of Directors of the Nuclear Threat Initiative and the International Crisis Group. And he is the moderator of the World Conference of Religions for Peace. There is more. This is just a few of a long list. On February 1 this year, the Oxford-educated Prince Hassan bin Talal was named Champion of the Earth 2007, along with 6 others, by the United Nations Environment Programme for, and I quote, his belief in transboundary collaboration to protect the environment and for addressing environmental issues in a holistic manner. Your Highness, thank you for sparing some time to be with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Your Highness, allow me first to congratulate you on your being named as Champion of the Earth for 2001 by the UN Environment Programme on February 1. While we're on the subject of the environment, as you know, there is currently great debate on the issue of climate change and global warming. What is your view on this?
The flip side of Al Gore's inconvenient truth is the demographic change, the climate refugees. And of course, the Meadows report is now 30 years old. The Club of Rome predicted up to 87% accuracy on its computer model the effects of climate change in the context of industrialization. And I want to say that there is a view which is a historic view that actually this has developed with the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution, recently emphasized in the Paris conference. I agree with this. But what is of concern to me is that when Mrs. Brundtland presented the Earth report, there was no mention of the 40 million people living under the trees of Amazonia. And today, when we speak about cities like New York or London being affected, or the Dutch coast by rising tide, my question is basically, where are these people going to go? And when we look at Africa, of course, we see the increase of HIV/AIDS. We see the possibility of greater interest in the Sudan, with a large biodiversity in the Sudan. And my question is, are these people going to be forced to migrate? And if so, on what circumstances, on what conditions, to the environment, to the local population? And indeed, what form of complementarity are we going to see between territoriality, identity, and migration?
So, in other words, you concur with this, this kind of warning?
I concur entirely, but my view is that it will not then be a question of survival of the fittest. It will rather be going back to the humanist view of Bertrand Russell in the beginning of the 20th century, that international resources will have to be used, economic, natural resources, as well as human resources, on the basis of rediscovering the common good. Each region has common denominators, and globally we have to meet between regional commons and global commons.
There's a view, though, especially in the developing world, that why should we sacrifice a lot at the behest of the developed world who has already spent their resources?
Well, if you're talking about Africa, for example, I think the least polluting continent is Africa, and this has been proven. As far as the developing world is concerned, nobody is concerned about Bangladesh, which after all has been obliged to turn to aquaculture from traditional agriculture. 2/3 of the country are underwater. They've changed the whole pattern of their life. A huge convulsion is taking place in Indonesia and the countries of Southeast Asia as we speak, particularly with the rising floods. The tsunami, we warned as a humanitarian commission in the 80s that we needed a tsunami early warning device that would have cost the equivalent of a 5-star hotel at that time. But sadly, with the exception of ASEAN, where actually you now have an energy charter, you now have a social charter, and now we see the early beginnings of this in South Asia, the search for a stability charter. There is very little emphasis being given in the oil-rich countries to the fact that 100 million job opportunities have to be created in the West Asia, North Africa region. I hope that these timely warnings of climate change will bring some sense to the region. It seems that the hot political issues, Palestine, the question of Iraq, the question of Afghanistan, bring more expenditure on weapons, more expenditure from the returns of oil on non-essential issues than a proper focus on a cohesion fund for a region that desperately needs it.
Do you get a sense that not enough is being done to instill this sense of urgency at a certain level, at a practical level among the people, to address serious environmental problems like we've mentioned forest degradation and the excessive use of non-renewable energy?
Well, speaking here in Pakistan, I think that we find that Pakistan is among the most consuming countries of firewood. The whole of West Asia today is turning to firewood with the rise of energy prices. Electricity is going to increase 160%. That's the equivalent of the total aid to Africa and the total write-off put together, or exceeds that figure. So we're living a situation where an alternative energy agency has to be promoted, and this is why we are proposing through trans-regional energy collaboration a solar city really for Gaza, providing water and electricity. In Sana'a in Yemen, where water is being mined, this historical city will need a new source of water, and we have again presented this suggestion through the Club of Rome and through the German science community. Today, Germany makes 15 billion euros out of alternative energy and creates 170,000 job opportunities. Why are we not doing the same for ourselves?